There's been a protracted battle over indexation of veterans' superannuation, and it's about to heat up again with Senator Nick Xenophon asking the Auditor General to rule on the costs. The government says independent assessments show a change would cost billions. The opposition and the RSL say about 100 million. Simon Royal reports.
Between them, Tim HANNA and Mark Keynes have racked up more than 60 years in the army, serving the country in places like the Middle East and Timor.
I was a country lad and it seemed like I would move on from the farm, and I decided to join the army. I served for 34 years, 22 years of those in the regular army and 12 in the reserve.
I had a lot of fun. It was a great career. A lot of excitement, a few sad moments, but overall great fun.
These days both serve in the RSL, where Tim HANNA is about to become state president. Their battles, though, are far from over. Now they're fighting to get what they say is a fair deal for their superannuation. When
you sign up, you sign up with a commitment to your country and to your government, and you expect to be treated in kind. That's the issue for many servicemen. We feel cheated.
And sailors, soldiers and airmen serve. They pretty much serve unconditionally.
Both men, along with around 60,000 other servicemen and women, are members of the old Defence Forces Retirement and Death Benefit Scheme, or DFRDB. It was established in 1973 and ran until 1991, when it was replaced with a more modern superannuation arrangement. Tim HANNA says 56,000 members of the scheme have now left the Defence Forces, and the problem they face is the real value of their money is being eroded.
In the very formation of the fund, it was described that purchasing power would be maintained for all those who are part of that fund. And that's the key issue for all the various affected members and for those lobby groups who are seeking government to do something about it.
They say it's because the scheme is indexed using CPI rises, unlike the old age pension, where increase rates are determined by rises to the average weekly wage. Currently, the defence benefit is higher than the pension, but the question is whether that will be maintained.
The logical consequence of maintaining pension increases based on CPI rather than average weekly earnings is that the benefits inherent in the military pension will be eroded away.
Well, that's a statement of fact, but there's no correlation between a means-tested age pension for those who are deemed by the means test to have insufficient resources to provide themselves with a basic income for their non-working years.
The argument hinges on cost. The government says changing indexation methods would incur over $6 billion of unfunded liabilities, making it not economically feasible or responsible. Tim HANNA says it's more like $100 million over 4 years, and that's a figure also accepted by the federal opposition, which supports changing the indexation method. But former Finance Minister Nick MINCHIN, who has a son in the Defence Forces, says the government's figure is closer to the true mark.
It would inevitably cause a lot of pressure to change the indexation for current military personnel on the new defined benefit scheme, who have their superannuation indexed to the CPI, and then it would inevitably flow on in terms of pressure to the whole Commonwealth public sector. All those Commonwealth employees on defined benefit schemes would then immediately demand the same change, and then you'd be talking tens of billions of dollars. So the flow-on consequences of doing something like this could be quite enormous.
2 years ago, a bill was introduced to change the way that DFRDB is indexed. Then Senator Nick Xenophon voted against it, along with the government, worried that it was unsustainable. But he also asked for it to go to a Senate inquiry into defence expenses. Now, with that inquiry and Australia's commitment to Afghanistan coming to an end, he says there should be more money available to revisit the issue.
I'll be putting up a motion when the Senate resumes in mid-June for the Auditor General to review the figures, and I would like to think that the government will support that. Certainly I'm hoping for the opposition support and the support of the Australian Greens. I think it's important that we have this resolved one way or the other.
There is, however, another theatre to this war, anecdotes that the indexation system in and of itself may add to the health problems of servicemen and women. TYSON was in the last deployment of Australians to go to Vietnam. He was so young that when he came back in 1972, he still couldn't legally go into a pub, or for that matter, the RSL.
I applied to join the RSL and in my hometown of Broken Hill, and the lady in the office sent me away to find my father to get him to sign my papers.
TYSON believes he is one of the lucky ones, a supportive family and a healthy attitude, though money is still tight. He volunteers as an advocate for veterans less fortunate than he is.
I see families and I see my former colleagues who I work with that are under pressure, and eventually it affects them mentally and physically. And to have that pressure at their age, to be starting a new career and then not receive an adequate superannuation, it's just terrible.
We're not seeking retrospectivity. We are not seeking anything that is not common to, say, the old age pension. We just want real management of our purchasing power.
Simon Royal with that story.